So now our goal that we have our template created is to create a title block and border that we can use from drawing to drawing. So again, we don't have to draw the border every single time. We'd also like a title block that's a little bit more professional than the one we've been using, which has basically just been your name stuck in the corner. So if we take a look at the course pack on page 85, we have the instructions on drawing the 20A border. And what I'm going to do is, if you want to, we can work it together. I'm going to go through it with you. There's several things that are probably helpful to point out on this so that you don't get tripped up or have too many problems. Take a look at the instructions. And we're saving this as a drawing. We're not saving this as a template this time. And then we'll be plotting it out using the lab printer if we're in the lab, or we'll be using the PDF writer if we're doing things online. And basically, this is what we're going to have when we're done. We're going to have a rectangular border and title block, 16 1/4 by 10 1/4. That will fit nicely on 11 by 17 paper. Down in the bottom right corner, we'll have our title block. It's 5 by 1.8125, and then it's divided up to contain the pertinent information for our class and our drawings. On the next page, there's a breakdown of that little box, so that you're not guessing how big to make the elements inside that box. They are all specifically called out so that things all work out and everything is the correct size. So some stuff on here that's worth noting. Alright, so some stuff I want to point out. The border that's around the title block here, this line work. It's all specifically sized. So the whole thing is 5 inches wide, and the bottom two boxes are broken up at 2.5. The breakdown vertically, 0.6250 to the first one, 0.4375 to the second one, and 0.375 on the last two. Now, the text in here, the text should all be single line text. And I'll tell you why. The text is 1/8 inch tall, everywhere except here in the title area. 0.625 is 5/8. You're going to come down 1/8 of an inch with your 1/8 inch text, and then you're going to have 1/8 of an inch for the text, and then you're going to come down another 1/8 of an inch for your next piece of text. And then you have your 1/8 inch text, and what you have here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal spaces, 1/8 inch each one. They are centered right here. That's the center line for all the text. If you do this with multi-line text, you won't have an 1/8 inch between the two pieces of text. They're kind of squished together. So best bet for here is to draw some guidelines all the way across, 1/8 inch down, and you can copy them 1/8 inch apart. And then your text here should be top center. Top center justify, top center justify. And what that lets you do is it lets you snap the top center of your text to the center point, the midpoint on the line. Okay, and that'll take care of the top box. Bakersfield College, Industrial Technology and Engineering. In the middle box, the text is obviously bigger, so the instructions will tell you the size. The text is justified middle center, so it means the very middle and center point of the text will always be in the middle of the box. Okay, so if I have a big title, it will stretch out equally on both sides. If I have a short title, well, it'll be shorter, but it will still be equally split between the two sides. Okay, now to find the middle center of the box, my suggestion is this: draw a line from corner to corner. Just a straight line, corner to corner. Ignore my poor Microsoft Paint drawing skills. And on the line, you'll have a midpoint, right? Well, snap the middle center snap of the justification on the text to the midpoint on the line. And that'll keep it centered top to bottom and centered left to right. For date, scale, drawn by drawing number, what we're going to do is we have a 3/8 space. 0.375 is 3/8. So let's think about this, right? We'll come down an eighth, then we have our text, and our text is an eighth, and then we'll go down and have another space of an eighth. So 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, right? It will be evenly spaced above and below the framework that you're in. And then on the side, we're going to move it over an eighth. So all of these have the same jog. They're all jogged over an eighth, and they're all jogged down an eighth, and they're all an eighth tall, which centers up things nicely. Okay, these can be regular left justify, because we want the bottom left corner of the text to snap into that point right there and right there. So now, if you want to, what we can do is we can go through it together over in AutoCAD. I'm going to set mine up. So this is the file. I started off my template. It's got all my layers. It's got everything I want. I just want to add a border and title block for future use. Okay. So first step is we're going to create the border. And the border is a rectangle. The border starts at 0, 0, and the border will go out to 16.25, 10.25. All right, so there's our B-size border for 11 by 17 paper. Now, for some reason, my border doesn't look very heavy. What's up with that? Oh, look at that. Huh? My border is supposed to be 0.7, not my 0 layer. Rookie. Okay, 0 is default, border is 0.7. All right. That looks better. So now down in the bottom right corner, I'm going to go up 1.8125 and then over 5. And be honest with you, there's a lot of ways to do this. I know some of you might do this. You might draw a line, 1.8125, to find out where to start, and then you come over the 5, and we go down. Now, if you're a person that does that, you're not a bad person. Just make sure you erase that little sniglet of line that's still under there, okay? And then here is our title block area. We're going to do a little bit of offsetting now. The top section, 0.625. And then the next section, 0.4375. And then 0.375 for the next two. Okay, and at the very bottom, we should be go to the midpoint and go to intersection and break that up into 4 equally sized boxes. Okay, so that's our layout for the boxes. Now, the border layer is heavy, and honestly, the title block doesn't need to be this heavy. So I'm going to ask you to do something I would not normally ask you to do and that you should not normally do. But in this case, there's special reason to do it, okay? I like the red. I don't like the fact it's so heavy, though. And, you know, I really don't want to make another layer for the title block. Layers can get out of control quick if you just make random layers or have layers that really aren't necessary. So what I'm going to do is, the title block is technically part of the border, but I'm going to go here and I'm going to change the line weight, right? Because right now the layer is controlling the line weight, and the line weight is 0.7. It's quite heavy. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to say, you know what, forget what the layer says. I want those lines to be default, even though they're on the border layer. told you, don't use the properties panel to change things unless you have explicit permission from the person who signs your paycheck. And in this case, that person is me, because your grade is your paycheck, right? So this one time, it's okay to do this. We're going to select the line work for the title block and change its property for weight to default. Okay, and then I still have lines. They are still red, and they are still on the border layer. They will turn on and off along with the border, but they don't have that in-your-face quality of those heavy, 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 thick lines. Okay. Next step is set up the spacing. So what I'm going to do is I have a layer called construction, and construction is for you guys to constructing things. So 0.125 from the top, I want to come down and I'm going to put that on my construction layer. Alright, and then I'm going to do the same space for here to here, here to here, here to here. That's going to give me all of my spacing at the top. I'm going to copy this line down, 0.125 also. I might as well do that one too, 0.125. This is construction. Not going to keep them. They're just a guide to get me going. And same offset, 0.125 down the bottom. The middle box, we said we want it middle center justified, and here is the diagonal. That will help me find the midpoint inside that box. Alright, so you can think of those as guidelines. I also need some on the bottom here for the text, so I'll do my offset. We'll go to the right an eighth, and we'll take this guy and we'll come over an eighth to the right. And that is another construction line. Okay. Next step is text. So go to our text. We're working with single line text, not multi-line text. So give that a click. We're going to justify it. Top center. And it says, where is the top center going to be? Well, the top center is going to be right there on the midpoint of that first line. And then my height, 0.125. And then my angle is 0. And then what's my text? My text is Bakersfield College. Okay. And then you can either make another piece of single line text, or you could recycle, right? We can copy from the midpoint up there to the midpoint here, and then just edit the text. That might be quicker. This is going to be industrial technology and engineering. All right. The boxes down the bottom, since they're the same size, we'll use some more single line text. Our justify will be left. I want the corner right here to be where the text starts. 0.125 tall, or if it says 0.13, remember we're rounding to 2 decimals, so that's why it's saying 0.13. It's still 0.125. Angle 0, and we're going to ask for the date the drawing was done. And then we'll use that same piece of text multiple times. So put one here and here, and then we'll take both of them and copy them from there to there. And everything's lined up. Everything matches 1/8 inch space all around. And down here, we're going to indicate the scale of the drawing. Should have gotten hooked on phonics. Okay, date scale dr by is drawn by. That's you. And then drawing number. And the drawing number is the file name. So when you look at a drawing, you'll know what to go look up if you need to open it and edit it or print it out again. All right. Bakersfield College is not going to change, neither is the department. Those will stay the same, that's why we filled them out. Now the date will change. The date will change from drawing to drawing, so we're not going to fill out anything here. The scale will also change from drawing to drawing, so we won't fill out anything here. The drawing number also changes. Every time we save a file, it's got a different number, different name. Don't fill out anything after that. But how about you? Are you going anywhere? Are you changing your name anytime soon? Probably not, right? So if you want to, you can do this now. You can stick your name in there, because that will be the same on all your drawings. Now, if you have an exceptionally long name for some reason that goes outside the border, what we can do is work with your first initial and your last name, or work with your first name and your last initial. But you don't want a name that touches the border or goes beyond the border. All right, and then our last little step is the middle center justified text that goes in the title block here. So as a thought, we could do this. Why don't we do a recycle and use some cool tools we have at our disposal. So there's the word date. And if you right click on date, of course you can go to its properties. There's also something called quick properties that I show to the students in my B12 classes. And quick properties are not all the properties, but some of them. And usually it's the ones that you need to change, right? So check it out. Right here is justify. Well, I don't want left justify. I want middle center. So you can go find middle center, and now you've got a grip at middle center. And then the height, well, the height on this one is a little bit bigger than the other stuff. It's 0.1875. And just keep in mind, when you hit that, it's going to say 0.19, right? Because it's going to round. But it really is 0.1875. Okay, and then what we can do is now we have a piece of text that's the right height with the right justification that we can now snap to the midpoint on that line. And then if our title is a couple of characters, it's in the middle and it's centered. If our title is big, well, it's still in the middle and centered, right? So this is going to be the title, and the title will change from drawing to drawing, but you've got a little piece of text there as a placeholder. You'll have to change that on every drawing to appropriately reflect the title. All right, so what happens with construction? Right, a little hard to read this stuff. Well, construction is for layout. Construction gets turned off, construction goes away, and then here's what we're left with when we're done. Got a nice clean title block. We've got 1/8" spacing between the 1/8" text up here. Middle center justified text over here in the center of that box. 1/8" spaced single line text down here. And if you want to include your name, go for it, because your name's not changing. At least I don't believe it is. All right, and that's our 28 border. You wanted to start it off at 0, 0. If you didn't, you want to move it back to that point. And what we're going to do is we're going to save it as a drawing, okay? Don't save it as a template, please. So, File, Save As, and make sure we're at Drawing, and we're going to our 20A folder. And this is an assignment, okay? And it's called 20A Border. All right, so here's what we got. We've got a template file all set up with everything we need in it. And we also have a border and title block that we can use on any drawing that we want to use it on. And this was our goal for the week. So we've accomplished this. We're doing great. And we're going to be using this as we go forward to make some drawings.